There are 5 major beliefs that undergird the Reformation. They are Scripture alone, grace alone, faith alone, Christ alone, and God's glory alone. I want to talk about grace alone, or also it's called Sola, gratia. Ephesians 1:7 says, "In him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace." So what the Bible is saying is that in Jesus, one is made right with God, forgiven of sins, according to what? God's grace. If you lose the ending of that sentence, you lose a right view of salvation. And if you add to or replace the ending of that sentence, you distort what is at the very heart of Christianity. In the 16th century, Martin Luther, John Calvin, and the other reformers saw this very distortion present in the church, in the way church leaders added onto what was already declared to be finished by Jesus. They responded then, not by laying a new stake in the ground, but by uncovering what had already been laid by the biblical authors in passages like Ephesians 1:7, Ephesians 2:8-9, and Romans 11:6. It is not, nor has it ever been, grace and, or grace if. It's grace and grace alone. You see, grace is God's undeserved favor towards sinners. Grace alone means that God is the initiator of the relationship, not in response to something that is true about us, but in response to what is true about him. Charles Spurgeon put it like this: If any man be saved, he is saved by divine grace, and by divine grace alone. And the reason of his salvation is not to be found in him, but in God. We are not saved as the result of anything we do or that we will, but we will and do as the result of God's good pleasure and the work of his grace in our hearts. This means 2 things. Grace alone means that he alone gets the credit. He authors salvation, so he alone gets credit for the story. And secondly, it means that his grace is not limited to one kind of person or group. If it comes from him and is not attracted by anything in us, it means that it flows where it pleases to all races, all struggles, all stories. It will not be manipulated and will not be overcome. How good of God to make forgiveness in Jesus, not according to my behavior or my knowledge or background or skin color or even my future success, but according to his grace and his grace alone.